Russia's occupation forces are desperately trying to break the pace of the Ukraine's defenders advancing. Good afternoon, this is Henry Keane in our daily wrap-up on UATV English, doing our best to bring the hardest of truth in easiest of terms for you, for the whole free world, directly from Ukraine. As you already might have noticed, the armed forces of Ukraine have breached the primary Russian defensive line on the Zaporizhia front, located westward to the fortified village of Ibove, trying to widen the gap sufficiently to facilitate the transit of heavy equipment. At the same time, Russians are trying to imitate signs of advance on the northeastern front between Liman and Kupiansk to distract Ukrainian forces. However, there is a however. The armed forces of Ukraine are using approaches that directly correspond to complex contemporary warfare necessities. Ukraine's defenders conduct these counteroffensive without superiority in the air and even without no air support at all, and are compelled to be highly adaptive, flexible, and able to change their actions in real time. And Russia had a huge amount of military equipment, so now Putin and Shoigu are looking for more shells, more missiles, more drones, friendly countries, and there are not many left: Iran and North Korea. Russia has spent months building the world's most formidable layered defense, both along the front line and into the depth of it. Interlocking trenches, bunkers, barbed wire, concrete anti-tank barriers, and vast minefields significantly slowed Ukrainians' advance in the first month and is taking the lives of our defenders, of course. The defenders of our own homeland, life and future, and the future of human values, if that means anything to you.
The Ukrainian Defence Forces continue to defend in the east and the south of Ukraine, conduct the offensive on Melitopol axis and defensive operation on Bakhmut axis. As they destroy the enemy, they liberate the temporary occupied territories and consolidate new positions. Unfortunately, the Russian terrorist attacks have killed and wounded civilians. Private residential buildings and other civilian infrastructure were destroyed or damaged.
Ukrainian Defence Forces broke through the Russian defense line in the Tokmak direction and are now actively building on their success. Of course, Russia is trying to exploit the breach of the Ukrainian Defence Forces during the counteroffensive in terms of propaganda and disinformation, but reality is Moscow is afraid of our forces to continue moving further ahead. Oh, and we will, in time. Now the proper and timely supply remains the key to the success of the Ukrainian military, and Ukraine is grateful to its partners for support. However, we require even more armor and more ammunition. Ukraine uses Western military aid as efficiently, transparently, and responsibly as even possible. This is confirmed by the Pentagon, as simple as that. Therefore, to state otherwise is to help consciously or unconsciously the Kremlin, which seeks to deprive Ukraine of defense resources. The Ukrainian military acts in accordance with the situation on the battlefield. We have to break through powerful enemy fortifications, overcome minefields, and defeat a way larger enemy without sufficient air support. The tempo of the counteroffensive is nothing but realistic. We urge our partners to provide Ukraine with additional air and missile defense systems to prevent further Russian missile and drone attacks on civilian infrastructure and people. Ukraine is grateful to all our allies for their support and assistance in the fight against Russia, which has evolved into an existential threat to the whole free world, no less. We use Western military assistance in the war's transparent and responsible manner. Our focus remains on safeguarding Ukraine's sovereignty, deterring further aggression, and saving the lives of our people, of course. The time is now, and glory to Ukraine. Ukraine's goal in this war is a comprehensive and just peace based on international law and order, and nothing else. The Ukrainian peace formula remains the only realistic and effective plan to end the war. We know better because we spilled our blood for it.
The only one that attracts the attention and the work of the international community is President Zelensky's peace formula. It is, they can say, the only game in town. It is the formula.
And gradually the world understands it. The peace formula is gaining the support of the majority of world countries. After 141 countries supported the resolution of the UN General Assembly, which contains the main principles of the formula, more than 70 countries and institutions are already involved in the consultations process at various levels regarding the ways of the formula turning into reality. Participation in the process is an opportunity for the countries of Asia, Africa, the Middle East and Latin America to increase their subjectivity and contribute to strengthening the world based on the principles of international law and not on the dictate of the rulers. Under no circumstances, Ukraine will agree to make territorial concessions to the aggressor or to freeze the conflict. We know what we are doing, fighting for freedom and survival and human values for all of us. So we tolerate no concessions or trade of any sort. You want the war to be over? So do we. Join the peace formula, realization process, and prove you really want peace and not aggressors' appeasement. Russian troops in Ukraine are war criminals who kill, torture, and abuse prisoners of war. Russia, as such, is nothing else but a mill of lies, producing it on an industrial scale. The head of the UN Human Rights Monitoring Mission in Ukraine, Daniel Bell, made a report on the situation with human rights during the war. It was part of the work of the Office of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, and the UN report just confirmed the obvious facts regarding the illegal and inhumane treatment of Ukraine prisoners of war by the Russian occupiers. The report debunks the lies of the Russians about the alleged HIMARS missile attack on the colony in Olenivka on July 29, 2022, as a result of which 53 Ukrainian prisoners of war were killed. All Russian crime goes with a lie within it by default. The UN statement is another natural example of exposing natural Russian lies on an international level. Our world partners stand in solidarity with Ukraine in terms of Russian propaganda, and those responsible for the murder of Ukrainian prisoners of war will be brought to justice in strict accordance with international law. All the clumsy attempts of the Kremlin to shift the responsibility for the murder towards Ukraine and Western weapons is not just cynical and all as it always is the case for Russia. This time it is even somewhat pitiful for the Kremlin being so helplessly lying. This is one of the largest Russian war crimes committed during a full-scale invasion of Ukraine. As the myth about Olenivka were debunked, the lies about Bucha, Irpin, and then about 9 years of bombing Donbass and protection of the Russian people will also be debunked. War against Ukraine is not the protection of Russians. This is the genocide of Ukrainians.
Russia is waging war against my country in the name of this terrible lie that Ukraine is committing genocide against its own people. This lie is Russia's pretext for aggression and conquest. Russia has presented no credible evidence. It cannot. In reality, Russia has turned the Genocide Convention on its head. The international community adopted the Genocide Convention to protect. Russia invokes the Genocide Convention to destroy.
The report confirmed the authenticity of the footage as of December 2022, the murder of the prisoner of war Alexander Matsievsky, who shouted "Glory to Ukraine" and was shot dead immediately. Authentic also is the footage where the Russian occupiers cut off the head of a Ukrainian prisoner alive. They did it with a knife. There were more executions filmed in footage proved authentic. The report records cases when the occupiers forced prisoners of war to walk through minefields, deliver ammunition to Russian positions, and evacuate wounded and killed Russians under heavy fire. The cases recorded in the UN report are direct, undeniable evidence of Russians' war crimes. These are not individual cases, but a purposeful policy of the occupiers, which is consciously implemented by the Russian military commander in Ukraine. And we are not surprised, nor are we afraid. The shame for what they do goes to Russians, and the glory belongs to Ukraine. It was Henry Keane on UATV English, hoping to give you the hard truth in easy enough terms in our daily wrap-up today. Please comment, like and subscribe. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters a lot to us. Stay safe and tune for more tomorrow. See you very soon.